As stated in my first video within this series, I have the horror genre of autism, meaning I have played a plethora of asymmetrical games over the years. Within this series, I aim to tackle misinformation by using my knowledge, experience, and facts to break down common misconceptions within the community. This series covers my complete, transparent, and truthful opinions regarding each killer. We'll cover their pros and cons in each episode, along with discussing where they fall short, and even common mistakes that may lead to these misconceptions. Ultimately, this series boils down to my opinions, but the information used to form my opinions is entirely factual. Everything listed within the pros and cons categories is legitimate and can be replicated should you wish to means test my statements. As always, I'll be showcasing gameplay as I discuss this to back up my points and provide visual context. Should you wish to inquire further, I'd be more than happy to discuss this in the Forsaken channel of my Discord server. You can find the link in the description, and I fully encourage you to ping me with your inquiries. Please note that anyone attempting to escalate beyond a discussion will be moderated swiftly and accordingly. My community is for all, and henceforth poor behaviour, instigation, or any other rule violations regarding people expressing their opinions will not be tolerated. At the end of the day, everyone is entitled to an opinion, so discussions should remain respectful to all parties at all times. Before we begin, I wish to state that this video is not created with ill intent, nor am I attempting to incite any arguments. The sole purpose of this video is to open new discussions regarding balancing and misconceptions from my standpoint, as someone with an interest in the asymmetrical horror and or survival subgenre. Without further ado, let's begin. Oftentimes people will claim Slasher is a weak character, discussing his lack of mobility as a factor, along with talking about how teamwork is his downfall. I find that this isn't necessarily the case if you know how to play him effectively, but most players fail to commit to the chase, are unfamiliar with ways to maximize their abilities, or even downplay his strengths due to situations where they misplay their hand by falling for the Sentinel rage bait and face the consequences. People also often discuss Slasher's lack of ranged abilities as a weakness, but when you account for the correct usage of his raging pace ability alongside the fact that stamina does not decrease at a certain distance from a survivor, this is a minimal factor when it comes to his strength. I think Slasher's strength is often misconstrued by people with inadequate knowledge regarding the effective uses of his kit, leading to a negative outlook as opposed to accounting for the overall positives. Needless to say, we'll dig into this soon. So, what is Slasher all about? Slasher is a killer who excels in close combat, having a variety of abilities to deal damage up close. Slasher also possesses an ability to regain stamina faster and can amplify the damage his abilities deal while enraged. Slash deals 20 damage, inflicting bleeding 1 for 5 seconds. Slash can hit multiple people at once and has a length of 7 studs. Bleeding deals damage over time but cannot affect players at 10 HP or lower. While enraged, Slash receives a lunge with a reduced cooldown lasting 0.8 seconds as opposed to 1.9 seconds, and deals an additional 5 damage for a total of 25 damage. The head deals 20 damage, inflicting helpless onto survivors for 14 seconds when hit. Slasher will receive slowness 1 for 2 seconds after using this ability, regardless of whether or not it hits. Helpless prevents ability usage for the duration of the effect, whereas slowness reduces a character's movement speed. Enraged lowers the cooldown of this ability to 12 seconds and increases the damage dealt by 15 for a total of 35 damage. Gashing Wound deals 50 damage with a combination of slashes before a final blow with Slasher's chainsaw. This ability has a cooldown of 32 seconds, lowering to 24 seconds if Slasher is enraged, also dealing an additional 20 damage for a total of 70 damage. Raging Pace makes Slasher enter the enraged state, increasing his base speed to 19 for 14 seconds. This also reveals the aura of the nearest survivor, lingering for up to 2 seconds after he leaves the enraged state. While enraged, Slasher has immunity to stuns and slowly regains stamina to a cap of 70 over a span of 6.5 seconds. Slasher cannot sprint during this, and using any ability will cause him to exit the enraged state. Slasher is the fastest killer for walk speed, tied with John Doe. Slasher has a speed of 9 while walking, increasing to 28 while sprinting. Slasher's M1 is fairly quick, lasting for 0.45 seconds total, which is slightly lower than the mean duration of 0.55 seconds total across all killers. Slasher has high damage, dealing 20 damage with his slash and behead abilities and 50 damage with Gashing Wound. Alongside this, his abilities become more powerful if used during Raging Pace, increasing the damage anywhere from 5 to 20 points depending on the ability. Slasher's Raging Pace ability acts as a second stamina bar, allowing you to close distance rapidly while also replenishing stamina up to a cap of 70. Slasher is very lethal when up close to survivors due to his large array of close-ranged abilities. Oftentimes this means that if Slasher commits to the chase, survivors have little room for survival unless they use their abilities, granting him extraordinary amounts of pressure. Slasher can punish survivors who fail to land their abilities, such as Shidlatsky or Guess 1337, by using Gashing Wound while they're locked in place after the animation. This can also be used to punish survivors if you predict their ability usage. Slasher has a smaller terror radius than average, falling in at 45 studs as opposed to the default 60 studs, meaning that he has a little bit of a stealth aspect, allowing him to start chases closer than other killers. Behead can help to deal damage to low survivors due to the wide hitbox, aiding at low time moments. Alongside this, Slasher has a minimal kill animation, meaning you can switch to another chase quickly if other survivors are in proximity. Behead can be effective in countering characters with team-centric abilities, applying Helpless to them for a significant duration. This can be especially helpful while dealing with low health characters being protected by other survivors. Gashing Wound can be incredibly effective to counter characters who require close proximity to use their abilities, such as Veronica using Bumper or Phase as long as you time this correctly. Raging Pace can be used around 40 stamina to restore Slasher's stamina to the maximum. This is generally the aim with this ability. Raging Pace can be used to react to stuns due to the parry aspect of this, granting a free chunk of damage. Slasher can counter large swarms of survivors, hitting multiple people with his Slash ability. Gashing Wound can also impact additional survivors within the range should they fail to move. Slasher is dependent on close range, meaning that if he falls victim to being pushed back, such as by Guess 1337's charge ability, he struggles to catch back up. Slasher relies on Raging Pace frequently to catch up to chasers, as this is his only mobility ability and acts as a stamina restore. If Slasher is stunned after exiting Raging Pace, the distance gained from it will be wasted, as survivors will gain distance while he is stunned. Slasher often struggles to regain lost distance to various survivor abilities due to his limited mobility, often having a heavy reliance on persistence and Raging Pace to chase survivors effectively. Behead is a punishing move, dealing slowness regardless of whether Slasher manages to land the move or not. This can grant a survivor adequate distance if used poorly. Gashing Wound can be punishing if missed, locking you in place for the animation, which can grant opportunities to create distance for the survivor. Guess 1337 players can use this to their advantage, blocking this ability if used on any survivor nearby. Behead can often be incredibly reactable, meaning that this ability is useless against Guess 1337 players, as it will grant them a free block while punishing you at the same time. Slasher may struggle against competent players due to their knowledge of his abilities, leading to situations where Slasher may struggle to effectively use his abilities. In this case, unpredictability can be your friend. Raging Pace will begin to drain stamina after regaining the 70 stamina cap, meaning that Slasher can only ideally use this ability for 6.5 seconds before it becomes a detriment to their mobility. Gashing Wound can be situational, requiring a survivor to be in close proximity due to the fact that this ability locks Slasher in place while winding up. Gashing Wound locks onto one survivor, meaning sometimes if you use this on a group, you may accidentally aim for the wrong survivor. This can be detrimental in some situations, such as high health survivors protecting a lower health survivor during the low match timer cases. Raging Pace may grant enraged buffs to abilities, but these are often irrelevant due to the fact that the distance gain is more significant than a few extra points of damage. Slasher is a surprisingly strong killer when used effectively, inflicting significant damage with precision. His abilities are fairly chase-orientated, meaning that once he enters a chase, there's little a survivor can do to effectively prolong their life. Slasher may lack mobility in comparison to other killers, but he makes up for this with the pressure applied by Raging Pace. Between being able to punish survivors for their mistakes, being able to restore stamina quicker, and being able to nullify stuns, his kit is decently powerful. Slasher deals 20 damage by default using Slash, also inflicting Bleeding 1 to further reduce a survivor's health through damage over time. Alongside this, Slasher can charge into groups of survivors to damage multiple survivors at once, slowly whittling away their health in the background with Bleeding as he focuses on one person. Bleeding can deal damage over time, stopping at 10 HP, meaning this can be effective on survivors regardless of health state. Slash is also a great move to use upon exiting Raging Pace, granting a lunge when combined to grant Slasher further distance, and may provide the opportunity to hit a survivor with this. Behead is a move that punishes Slasher with slowness, therefore this needs to be used in situations where the benefit outweighs the downside. Behead can be incredibly effective for nullifying characters such as Shedletsky and Guess 1337 due to the Helpless they receive upon hit. Helpless prevents ability usage, making this ability incredibly powerful against survivors with abilities that may hinder your kills. Slowness is a small price to pay in certain situations, such as when a group of low health survivors is being protected by a sentinel player, leaving those survivors exposed. Slasher excels in punishing any survivor mistakes with Behead, due to the high damage that can be used in close range, meaning survivor's corner can be inflicted with significant damage. Gashing Wound is a more difficult move to use, requiring planning and timing to be effective. To use Gashing Wound, Slasher typically has to drain the stamina of a survivor, hopefully leaving them cornered due to the small hitbox of this ability. This ability can be incredibly impactful to punish survivor abilities, dealing a hefty 50 damage to survivors to penalise their failures, such as against a failed Guess 1337 block. Raging Pace can be a mixed bag when it comes to abilities. On one hand, it can be great to regain stamina during a chase to help with distance. On the other hand, the duration can often be cut short due to the drain it can inflict on your stamina after 6.5 seconds. Once you reach the cap, your stamina will drain over time, giving you a short window to properly execute enraged abilities. If used for distance, Raging Pace can be effective, but it falls behind when it comes to additional damage due to this time cap. Practice can be important when using this ability, learning to react to the environment and situations you may encounter, but also learning to predict the behaviour of survivors depending on what you aim to achieve. My overall fun ranking for Slasher is 4 out of 5. Slasher can be quite fun, often requiring you to stick to chases and learn patterns. Despite this, Slasher's kit is simplistic and easy to understand while also having the strength to wipe out survivors with his various abilities. There's very little complexity to his kit, relying more on learning timing and spotting opportunities than understanding complex abilities. My overall functionality ranking for Slasher is 5 out of 5. Slasher requires you to learn how to use your abilities effectively and often, which leads you to stick out chases as opposed to switch survivors frequently. His kit is simplistic yet effective, meaning he can pressure the survivors without having to learn complex tricks or movements. The extent of learning with Slasher tends to be more pattern recognition, predicting survivors' movements, encountering them making him decently functional regardless of your playtime and experience. Slasher is currently decent as is. I wouldn't really have any changes to suggest in terms of his kit. Most people may find him weak initially, but once they understand the optimal uses for his abilities, they're unlikely to have too much trouble. Slasher may struggle against groups, but it's a better idea to focus on one specific target in this situation to avoid issues. Oftentimes people struggle with Slasher due to the fact they fail to commit to a single chase, switching targets which can be detrimental to your game. Overall, I believe Slasher's strength is underrated. His abilities are often used ineffectively, leading to misconceptions throughout the community. Please keep in mind that in my eyes, the game has flaws to the core mechanics that impact the way these killers function, and my conclusions take this into account. I personally believe that the game relies far too heavily on stamina, meaning that pathing and stamina are more impactful than abilities will ever be. At the end of the day, Forsaken is still in a self-proclaimed alpha state, meaning that over time, these killers may receive tweaks that alter their balancing significantly. This video is solely to start conversations and provide my perspective on the current state of killers. This may become outdated over time, but I cover every single update on my channel, so if you're from the future, I suggest checking out my upload list for the latest information. That's all from me for now, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.